Alright, welcome along to a new video. We're going to bounce into one of my old all-time favourites from the 80s, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, with an episode called The Return of Granamyr. Excellent little episode. Well, probably not the strongest in the series, but it's always good to see Granamyr coming back, the giant dragon that has had just about enough of humanity. And the prior time we've seen him, He-Man give him a little bit more faith that the human race isn't a complete waste of time. At the beginning of this episode, he's training along with Man at Arms, aka Duncan, and Duncan shows him this little move to disarm someone. They get a call from the sorceress. They're called the Castle Grayskull to go and check out a message that has been left for He-Man. So they show up. The sorceress shows them through the window of spirits that Granamyr has a message for them, and it's simply just, "Hey man, I want to talk to you," more or less. So they slide off the dark smoke where Granamyr lives. When they get there, uh, Granamyr welcomes them with "It's good to see you" sort of a deal, which is, a little bit not off character for him, but not what you're expecting after the prior meeting that they had earlier in the series. So he's not happy that Duncan, Man at Arms, is there. He wasn't invited, but Duncan wants to be there to thank him in person for everything that happened prior to this episode. He lets him stay, and we discover that the whole reason they've been called is because the youngest of all the dragons has fallen in love with a human. The young dragon is called Torm, and he's fallen in love with this girl called Lyra. But he explains that someone has to go through a test on behalf of Torm to show that he's worthy of wedding this young girl. So they go off to meet Brindle, the dad of Lyra. If He-Man succeeds in the challenge, Torm will change form from a dragon into human so he can marry this young girl. Yeah, it's just one of those episodes. So they show up. When they get there, they see this guy called Zem. He's arguing with Lyra's father. He wants to marry her, but she wants nothing to do with him, so he isn't happy. He swears that he's gonna get revenge on the champion, He-Man being the champion. He uses a magic spell to call Braylock, a demon of night, to attack Brindle's home and transport He-Man and Man at Arms back to his own dimension, the dimension of darkness, more or less. He does fail in the process, gets very close, he almost has him, but Brindle steps in, does some magic, and banishes him back to his own dimension and saves He-Man. And he puts another spell around the castle of protection to keep Zem out. So the next morning, He-Man starts the test going through a maze. Simple enough little test. A garden maze. He has to get into the centre of it and claim, is it a golden egg or a silver egg? Something a silver. Where did I get egg at? That's apple. He has to get a silver apple off a tree in the middle of this maze, bring it back to Brindle. If he can do that, he'll agree to let his daughter marry this dragon slash human. So going through the maze, Zem sneaks in there, transforms himself into a fly, lands in He-Man's, what would you even call that holds a sword? I'm just going to call it holster for the point of this video. He sneaks in there because Brindle's going to put a magic spell around the forest, or the garden maze, so nobody else can get in there. So Zem manages to get in there along with He-Man. He's not long into the maze till he comes across a wall of fire, but he realizes that nothing's getting burned up with this fire. There's no heat from it, so obviously that's an illusion, so he just steps through it. For a show that's meant to be teaching good morals to kids. Probably not the best idea to walk through flames, but he does show the common sense on there that Gen X grew up with. He explains the whole thing. No heat, nothing's been burned. It's not real. It's an illusion. He gets through it anyway. Next thing, he meets this young girl who offers him the silver apple. You've completed your task. Here's the apple. Take it back, and yes, claim your prize. But He-Man doesn't believe this young woman, as Brindle made it explicitly clear that the apple was on this tree. And when he refuses to believe her, he breaks this thing beside her. It's like a I didn't even explain what it was. There's some sort of thing off to the side of her, and he throws his sword and destroys that. She turns into this creepy little elf sort of creature, and it's like, you were correct not to believe me. And she opens up another doorway through the labyrinth. Go claim your prize. So he gets in there and meets a centaur. This guy approaches him, half man, half horse, and challenges He-Man to a fight. And he refuses to fight, but he does take him on in a tug of war using a vine, and very swiftly beats him. And the centaur's like, you've completed the task, there's the apple, take it with you back, claim your prize. And he does so. Off he goes. He-Man comes out of the maze and lets him know they're going to get ready for a wedding. So as Brindle, Lyra and the others, they're preparing for the wedding, Zem goes off to a far off area of Eternia. I don't think it actually said what the location was. Shadow Wing, an evil dragon, has been kept prisoner inside like this massive stone structure. Sam uses his magic to free Shadow Wing and asks the evil dragon to take out Dark Smoke. I freed you. I want a favour in return. Take out Dark Smoke, destroy these dragons, so I can get my hands on my bride. She wants nothing to do with this guy, no matter what way this thing goes. But he lets this evil dragon out. As Shadow Wing arrives, Torm tries to fight him off on his own. This little baby dragon, more or less. He's no match for him whatsoever. Shadow Wing uses magic on him, turns him to stone. Who else was in there? Her father tries to use magic on him, but he's more or less, frozen on the spot by this dragon. He-Man goes up and they, what do you call that thing that fly about on? Where is it at? It's on here, the Wing Raider. He-Man gets into the Wing Raider, takes him on, firing laser beams at him. The dragon uses like magical bolts, takes out the engine of the Wing Raider. He-Man is going on a nosedive, but he's like, I need to time this properly. And he crashes the Wing Raider into the dome of Dark Smoke. Dark Smoke, yeah. Thought I got that name wrong there. So he crashes it in there, and a little bit of comedy in here. I thought it was quite funny, but He-Man dusts himself off after the crash, and he says to Man-at-Arms, did it do it? Man-at-Arms is like, did you do what? Got a wee chuckle at that there, but you very swiftly figure out that the reason He-Man did this is Granamyr, the doorway in to his lair. I didn't even really realise this in the prior episodes that he was in, but it's not big enough for him to leave. He's kind of, I wouldn't say cocooned himself away from the world, but he's gone to a place where he doesn't have an option to really leave whenever you really think about it. So whenever He-Man crashed the Wing Raider into the roof of this place, blew it up, it releases Granamyr, and he comes out to fight Shadow Wing. Everything Shadow Wing throws at him is just dusted off. It's just like, it's, your magic is nothing compared to mine, sort of a thing. And he uses one simple piece of magic, and shoots this thing off to another dark dimension where he belongs and with shadow creatures and that sort of thing. He then uses his magic in the ceremony to transform the little baby dragon into human, and they have their wedding. Granamyr presides over it, and I now pronounce you man and wife, sort of thing. Yeah, Granamyr then starts to lower back down into the fire pit where he lives at, thanking He-Man and telling him that he needs help to calm again. And He-Man says to him, farewell, oldest and wisest of dragons. End of the episode, of course, we usually get the moral of the story at the end of these shows. Class, if you didn't get it, one of the characters is going to break the fourth wall, talk to the viewer, and tell you what was going on. This time we get King Randor and He-Man. Randor starts off, helping his dragon friends sure kept He-Man busy today. I'm reading it off the computer here just so I don't get any words wrong. Helping his dragon friends sure kept He-Man busy today, and Brindle's tests were pretty tough. One of those tests, to prove his courage, he was challenged to fight, but He-Man wouldn't fight. At this point, He-Man breaks in. The fact is, fighting never proves anything. Trying to find a peaceful way to settle a problem is usually the best way, and if someone calls you a coward or a chicken, don't let that worry you. It often takes more courage not to fight. Until later, bye now. Great little episode. I haven't done a review on this series in a heck of a long time. I remember when this show was on TV, like I was the target audience for this whenever I was a kid. I never missed an episode of this show back in the early 80s whenever it came out, showing my age in a big bad way right now. But it is what it is. Great show. They don't make them like that anymore. They really don't. And I say this in the vast majority of the videos I do in the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. I don't have kids, but if I did have kids, I would be playing this show for them on loop most days, just to teach them a little bit of morality in there. Like it's one thing to teach your kids this, but if you can get something that can grab their attention, like in a cartoon sort of a thing that can learn them some morals, you can't go far wrong with He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. That's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that thumbs up button, share it along, do all that good social media stuff. And until the next episode, stay safe, and I'll talk to you all then.